Bulldogs, and we are ready for A&M and Georgia. The opening tap controlled by the Aggies and their tremendous freshman, Kennedy Carter. Eric Freed, Carol Ross here with you in College Station. Texas A&M coming off that victory over Tennessee. You just saw Tennessee knock off South Carolina. First hoop of the game for Texas A&M. If you take a look at the starting lineups, good start for the Aggies, hoping to avoid a bit of a letdown after that victory over Tennessee.
Both teams, Eric, will show man and zone, and it looks as if A&M's going to open up in their matchup zone.
And a foul called on the Aggies in the opening minute of play. How about some game keys, Carol? How this game plays out today in your estimation?
Well, Georgia's been knocking on the door. They need that signature win. They can't get it. Well, they've got to get to the foul line, and they've got to be able to take care of the basketball. For the Aggies, they've just got to continue to play inside out. Carter is so good behind the arc, but she's even better driving the basketball. And then you got the big presence of Hillsman down inside.
Taja Cole in her first year with Georgia hands it off to the freshman. Q Morrison can't hit. This is a good early start for Georgia on the glass. If they can get Koyer Robinson going, leading the team in rebounding.
Well, Koyer Robinson's so good in so many ways, but to go to the offensive glass and get a putback to start is certainly got to make the Georgia bench feel more comfortable. And this is a Georgia team, they haven't lost on the road, so they've proven to be good road warriors.
6-0 for the Lady Bulldogs so far. Off the miss, Georgia on the run. Cole trying to take it to Carter, and it's tipped out of bounds. Well, it is good to see Joni Taylor on the sidelines for Georgia. She was not here early this morning for shoot-around. She is just not feeling great, so true competitor she is. She made it to the game here today.
Absolutely. I recruited Joni when she was just a high school player. She's tough, and certainly it is good to see her on that sideline, and I know she's feeling better when she saw Koyer Robinson get an offensive putback.
Better than any over-the-counter medication available at a local pharmacy here, although I'm sure she's tried everything at this point. Cole comes out from out top, can't hit, and it's tipped out of bounds by Georgia. Texas A&M basketball. Well, Gary Blair's team, they were down in overtime by 4 to Tennessee, but they battled back. Both these coaches have used the word resilient to describe their teams so far this season.
Well, we've got two great head coaches. Gary, the Silver Fox, has been around the block a few times. There's not much he has not seen during his coaching career. Joni's younger, but Joni's a very good coach, and her team reflects that. She's very calm. She's very deliberate. She's got a lot of passion on the defensive end, and her team reflects that.
Carter doesn't need a lot of room to get a shot off. Her first point, scored 21 against Tennessee. Took 31 shots to get there as A&M won in OT.
Well, surprisingly, I mean, Carter is a volume shooter, but most volume shooters do not shoot high percentage. But her numbers are good percentage-wise.
Robinson scores again.
And again, Georgia couldn't be any happier to have Koyer Robinson in the games against Mississippi State and Texas, the two ranked teams. It was important for her to stay in the ball game because she was in foul trouble. Watch Carter. I call her Swaggy Aggie for a reason. She's got the swag. She's able to come off and knock down jumpers. And then Koyer Robinson, her team needs her. She knows that, and she's stepping up.
Back live, Robinson misses the short jumper, and a rebound for Texas A&M. Jasmine Lumpkin.
We wondered too, Eric, how would A&M respond? Would they have a Tennessee hangover? Were they able, as a young team, to collectively refocus, get ready for this Georgia team?
Carter on the drive, and an offensive foul called on the freshman. Taking the charge was freshman Q Morrison. This is an outstanding freshman class for Georgia. Joni Taylor putting a lot on their plate in the early going, and they've responded.
Well, they have in both these programs. These are top 10 recruiting classes, this freshman class. Q Morrison has started every game of her Georgia career, so she's been depended on from the very beginning. And then, of course, Carter the same. She had one game, I think, when Gary brought her off the bench, but both are big forces and will be great in the future as both these programs move.
And let's not forget about the upperclassmen like senior MACKENZIE ENGRAM was a 40% three-point shooter. She makes her first three-point attempt put Georgia up by 3.
And that's what I love about Ingram and Robinson, both for Georgia. They can stretch, they can sit behind the arc, they can also go down inside and be physical.
And a foul called on Lumpkin. The block shot on one end for Robinson. And she'll head to the free throw line on the other end.
Well, I love the pace in which Georgia's playing, not just in the full court, but also their ball movement, how quickly the ball is moving around and the offense is clicking. That's a good sign for Georgia on the offensive end.
Robinson, the junior from Marietta, 62% from the free throw line. You saw her get a block earlier, 7th on Georgia's all-time block shot list. And a very good start here in College Station for the Lady Bulldogs, up by 5.
It is, and back to Robinson. This Georgia team leads the SEC in block shots. They average 9 a game, and a lot of that starts with Koyer Robinson down inside.
Kyla Hillsman's been quiet in the early going. She gets an offensive rebound. Howard on the drive. Another good defensive stop by Georgia. And here come the Lady Bulldogs. They keep trying to feed the post, but look at the freshman, Kennedy Carter, reaching in, getting the steal and the foul called on Georgia.
And that was nice transition defense. Georgia loves the running game. They love to rebound and get it out and go. And the young freshman Carter was back to break up Georgia's fast break.
First foul on Clark. Another block shot for Robinson.
Hillsman's not used to getting her shot blocked, but Koyer Robinson is being a force protecting the rim.
Morrison went in a little too strong, and here come the Aggies. Texas A&M 14-4 on the season, 3-1 in the conference. Georgia 15-2 on the season, 3-1 in the conference. And some sloppy play here in the opening minutes. We talked about it. You just touched on it a minute ago. Would there be a little bit of a carryover after that high emotional level that they got to against Tennessee here last game?
Well, it's certainly not the start Gary Blair and the Aggies would like, so we can blame it on the Tennessee hangover or just simply not being quite as ready, or give Georgia credit. Georgia looks very sharp.
And a foul called on Carter. As Cole was taking the jumper, she'll go to the free throw line to shoot a couple when we come back. You see Kennedy Carter, you know what Kennedy Carter can do. You've seen the highlights. What happens when she goes one-on-one? Cool, freshman's got it all together so far. She's been so fun to watch, although in this game she's got 2 personal fouls. So that excitement could be tempered a little bit, but had a lot of fun talking with Kennedy, didn't you?
I do. As much fun as she is to watch play, it was just as entertaining to be able to talk to her.
Sadly, we're not going to see her here on the floor for a few minutes because 2 quick personal fouls here in the first quarter. So indeed a slow start for the 17th ranked Aggies. Kennedy Carter averaging nearly 21 points a game. He's gone for 20 or more 9 times already as a freshman. Taja Cole, who was fouled by Carter, comes through at the free throw line, and Georgia's on top by 7 here in College Station. A 10-0 run for the Bulldogs. Lulu McKinney, the grad transfer from UTEP, into the game for A&M.
I like that A&M's looking inside to Hillsman. They've got to have that balance. Nice possession by the Aggies out of the timeout.
Quickly pushing it up to Ingram. Takes it at Hillsman. Rebounded by Howard, who's second in the conference in rebounding, averaging a double-double this season.
Georgia, they hang their hat on defense, and you can see why. They're very attentive on the defensive end. They swarm it.
Speaking of swarming, that's what Howard does on the glass, and Lumpkin can't hit the open shot. Rebound for Robinson.
Well, Howard's one of the best rebounders in the country, but per inch, she's got to be the best rebounder. Just a relentless effort to pursue the ball all the time.
Tries the deep 3. Georgia's been all over Danny Williams so far, trying to deny her the basketball. They foul her in transition. On Wednesday, it's a hoop doubleheader starting at 7 o'clock Eastern time. Auburn taking on Alabama. Then at 9, number 24 Tennessee will be at Missouri, both right here on the SEC Network and streaming live on the ESPN app. Taja Cole will go to the bench. Go get her rest with Kennedy Carter on the bench for Texas A&M. Cole has been given the assignment, according to Georgia, of shadowing the top freshman. Howard was fouled. Engram. Well, Taja Cole and this Georgia defense has been very good against Texas A&M so far. They've denied Danny Williams a lot of touches. This trio of Carter, Hillsman, and Williams averaging 52 points a game. That's research you did this week trying to figure out, well, that's a lot of scoring for 3 players. Turns out they're second in the country at this level to Kelsey Mitchell, Stephanie Mavunga, and Lene Harper at Ohio State.
Well, Gary Blair is so good at finding players and putting them in a role, and their roles are so clearly defined. Hillsman's going to anchor inside. She's big, she's strong. And then you've got, Carter, who can do so many different things, and then the silky southpaw of Danny Williams. So he's got his offensive trio. Now they've got to tighten up on the defensive side of it.
Gabby Conley, one of the freshmen for Georgia, into the game. Engram drains a 3.
And this is what Engram and Koyer Robinson can do. They're stretch post players, and they can pull Hillsman, they can pull Howard out from around the basket, and it really gives opposing defenses so much trouble.
Robinson called for the foul, battling Hillsman underneath.
And this is an area you have to watch for, because Koyer Robinson is so valuable to her team, but she's been in foul trouble, especially when they've played ranked opponents.
They get Danny Williams a shot on the baseline out of bounds play, but it's off the mark. Just the first field goal attempt for Williams, averaging 15.5 points a game. Long rebound tracked by Haley Clark, and a reset here for Georgia. Engram will try again. Can't hit, and a fight to the loose ball. Last touched by Texas A&M. It'll be Georgia basketball.
Gary Blair's a little irritated right now, but he's not with this trio, that's for sure. Carter, we're calling her Swaggy Aggie now, because she just got all the moxie and of a great player. And then Hillsman's that steady, solid anchor down inside. And Danny Williams, just that silky southpaw, great three-point shooter. What a luxury to coach offense with those 3.
So far, just 7 points on the board for A&M. Carter on the bench with 2 personal fouls. Picked up that foul with 4:49 to go in the quarter. And a second chance again for Georgia.
And Georgia they're really hustling to the ball. They're in pursuit every time the ball goes up.
Bulldogs are +6 in rebounding margin here in the early going.
Yeah, and you go on the road, you got to love that.
Foul called on Georgia. Legal screen set by Bianca Blanaroo just into the game.
She definitely gave a little extra on that screen. The key is, can the Aggies take advantage of this possession? They've got to find something inside.
Another miss. Texas A&M now 1 for their last 9 from the floor. Foul called on the Aggies. Lumpkin picks it up. That's her second personal foul. So 2 key pieces, 2 starters with 2 personal fouls here in the first quarter for A&M.
And you're talking about A&M, a team that does not go deep into their bench. Gary Blair has a very tight rotation. His starters have been playing 40+ minutes in overtime, in the overtime game against Tennessee. So this is not a team that goes deep.
The bench played a combined 7 minutes in that overtime game against Tennessee.
And that's not unusual. It's unusual that they went to overtime. It was their first one of the season, but he's just very tight with his minutes. His starters gobble him up, and somebody's going to have to step up that's not used to playing big minutes in the SEC for the Aggies.
Morrison off the mark, 14-7 our score. Give you an indication of the concern level. Gary Blair has removed the sport coat.
That's the telltale sign of stress in a coach. The jacket comes off.
Engram will try again. Well, she has had success against Texas A&M, and a timeout called by the Aggies. Last year in the win over A&M, McKenzie had a team-high 19 points. She's knocked down 3 last year when they went 16-15. This is a good, young Georgia team, but their senior, MACKENZIE ENGRAM, playing very well here in the first quarter. 9 points to lead Georgia to a 10-point advantage. Wells on the drive, can't get it. Guess who on the glass? Unreal Howard, 2.
You know, Unreal Howard, she's a Georgia girl, so you know she's going to want to play well against the Georgia Bulldogs, and we're so used to seeing her relentless pursuit of the ball off the backboard. One of the best rebounders in the country.
The 3 from Gabby Connolly, the freshman from San Antonio. A lot of friends and family in attendance here today. Off the mark. Williams off balance, won't go. 1 and done as Morrison comes away with the rebound. Final 30 seconds of the quarter.
And we'll see if Georgia takes it down and uses the clock. And it looks as if they are going to try to get the last shot.
Down to 10 on the shot clock. Connolly finds an opening and finishes. Gabby Connolly averaging 7 points a game. Her first 2.
They didn't take the last shot, but they sure took a great shot.
Williams, that's off the mark. Hillsman, no, and grabbed by Engram. That's the end of a frustrating quarter for Texas A&M playing here on their home floor. And a strong start for Georgia on the road, up by 10. 19.
Can she come back into the game, be effective, play hard without picking up her 3rd foul?
Gabby Connolly starts the quarter by knocking down a 3.
I think that San Antonio native is happy to be back in Texas. She just looks really good. She's a very calm, relaxed player for a freshman.
And a foul called on Texas A&M. Danny Williams picks up her first.
And this just definitely a push off by Danny Williams to get open. That looks like a little bit of a frustration move. But this Georgia defense, they're sticky, they're tough. They've been good defensively really all season long. They hang their hat on it, so there's not going to be anything easy for the Aggies. They're going to have to settle in and run offense.
Simone Costa into the game for Georgia. Here she is. Almost banked it in, but on the glass. Another great fight, but a traveling violation called on Robinson. Robinson 6 points, 4 rebounds, an assist, and a block in that first quarter.
You gotta love Koyer Robinson. She walks, she smiles the whole way back down the court. You can't really ruffle her or get under her skin.
Georgia coaching staff telling us today the key to her is staying disciplined, not to try to block every single shot that comes her way. That's worked out pretty well. She's only fouled out of 1 game this year. She has been a difference maker so far. Let's Lumpkin go here. And I guess my timing's not very good.
Well,
because of foul called on Robinson.
More importantly, Koyer Robinson's timing wasn't very good, and she ends up picking up the foul. And it's she's so important to this Georgia team that she's got to find ways to back off at certain times. This is where her maturity and understanding of the game has to really grow.
Actually, they gave the foul to Blanaroo.
That's even better.
So I feel a little vindicated and didn't feel like I willed that foul to happen. Sometimes that happens.
It's your fault. They knew it and they gave it to Blanaroo.
Robinson turns a little deep, can't hit it, and another rebound for Howard.
If Carter's going to come in the game and play, she's going to have to really open this game up. She needs to have aggressive minutes. I like the fact that she tried to go down inside the Hillsman, but I really thought she had a good look for herself.
A little too unselfish for a player that is not afraid to shoot the basketball. As we mentioned, 31 field goal attempts in that OT win last time out against Tennessee. Looking on the back door, but out of reach for Robinson. And the Aggies will take over with Engram coming back into the game for Georgia. Last time out, Georgia beat Arkansas at home, 78-65. It was their first home game since New Year's Eve. They head back home for a week. Their next game isn't until Sunday when they take on Auburn. Carter.
That's what Carter can do. I mean, she is just a one-woman wrecking crew. She's got the ability to pull the trigger from anywhere.
I give you all credit for this. Was that a swaggy J for the swaggy Aggie?
The swaggy Aggie was showing her stuff right there.
She has done it all season long, highlighted by the 46 points against USC.
You saw that crossover move. She crossed me over early today, so she had a little more competition in front of that shot, but she can create her own stuff. She can get space anytime she wants.
Lumpkin just picked up her third personal foul and a turnover by Georgia. Things have gotten a little sloppy here in the second quarter as the Aggies will take over.
Sometimes when you sub, you lose that chemistry that you had to start the game, and that's 2 turnovers in a row for Costa, so you can't come off the bench. You don't have to do anything positive, but you can't do anything negative. You've just got to simply blend in, work your way into the ball game.
3 fouls on Lumpkin in the first half. Carter playing with 2 fouls, so Gary Blair is going to have to lean on that bench a little bit here today. Williams, they're just trying to deny Williams from just catching the ball.
Well, it's good strategy because Danny Williams is a player that can go off. We've talked a lot about the young freshman Carter, but Danny Williams is also a very explosive, very good three-point shooter who's also learned how to get her mid-range game too. So it's a little shoving down inside with Q Morrison, and Danny Williams are going to take Q out and let Cole have a shot at it.
Well, both players very fast, Morrison and Cole.
Well, Cole reminds me a lot of Alana Beard, who's a WNBA player and was the Defensive Player of the Year in the WNBA. She said she models her game after her. Well, she should, because she's got that defensive tenacity that Beard has.
They work a baseline out of bounds play to get Williams a look. And a foul called on Georgia will send Carter to the free throw line. 79% free throw shooter.
And that's, when you're struggling offensively, that's one of the best things to do. If you can't get out and run transition, get to the free throw line. Go to the offensive glass. Create your offense.
Top 25 on the Wooden Award watch list. The only freshman in the top 25. Kennedy Carter, freshman from Mansfield, Texas, Timberview High School. Cole, little stutter step, couldn't score, and Howard continues to clean up on the glass. 8 rebounds already. As Carter got fouled launching a 3, and she will shoot 3 free throws. Cole whistled for the foul. So 3 free throws for Carter. This could move her into #1 all-time on the freshman scoring list at Texas A&M. You saw the Wooden Award candidates. Carter perfect at the free throw line. So 8 points now. She has passed Kia Starks for the freshman scoring record at Texas A&M. Let me just do a little check. What's today's date? January 14th?
It's not February, it's not March, it's January 14th. It's just incredible, the numbers that Kennedy Carter's been able to put up. She's already dotted Southern Cal for 46, and somebody forgot to tell her you're not supposed to beat up on the defending national champs, but she put 36 on Dawn Staley's Gamecocks, so she's been phenomenal really all season long.
And about the turnaround cleaned up by Robinson. That ends a 10-0 run for Texas A&M. Robinson continues her strong play here in the first half.
Well, you can rebound a missed shot like Kalai Robinson just did, but you can't rebound a turnover. So Georgia took care of the basketball that time.
Carter into double figures with 11.
And you wonder why Gary Blair brought her in with 2 fouls, because she can do this.
Carter will try again. This time it's short, but a rebound for Kayla Wells.
And you can feel the energy in the building just change with Carter's productivity, her creativity. Nice pass, that's beautiful.
Works with Hillsman, but Hillsman couldn't finish. She's struggling, 0 for 5 from the field. The 10-0 run with Carter leading the charge has charged up this crowd here at Reed Arena.
Well, she's electric, and you can feel it. Gabby Conley, San Antonio native, says, I got some of that too. She's a quieter version. She does hers very patiently.
Freshman has 8 points already off the bench. She has been improving daily. Carter, unselfish play, but there is another block. This time Robinson kept it in play, but it will stay on this end of the floor after the Georgia turnover.
Carter just playing. She's just got her on a string. And you're talking about a great defensive player in Cole, but Carter just makes it look easy.
Officials are going to go to the monitor. Beverly Roberts, Michael McConnell, Brian Greenland, our crew here today in College Station.
You see Coach Amy Wright. Amy played for Gary Blair at Arkansas. She's the out-of-bounds coach. She sets all the offenses up on baseline and sideline out of bounds.
So a 6-point lead for Georgia. The largest for the Lady Bulldogs was 13 here in this quarter before Carter and Texas A&M went on their run. But that game against Tennessee, that 3-point win in overtime over previously undefeated Tennessee. They were up 7 with about 6 minutes to go in the game was Texas A&M, and they had the ball but unable to put Lady Vols away. That's been a little bit of a bugaboo, according to Gary Blair, that they've had leads on teams, but they've kept them in games. So Tennessee got back in that game. It was helped by the fact that A&M missed 18 consecutive shots in a row from the fourth quarter into overtime. If you told Gary Blair or anybody you'd miss 18 straight shots and you have a chance to win, probably laugh right out of the gym, but that's what happened.
It's phenomenal, but the other part of that is Tennessee wasn't scoring either.
True.
So it was just a drought during that time period. But Gary Blair's teams, because he's so tight with his rotation, they're not going to blow out many teams. You know, they're counter punchers. Gets you into the fourth quarter. He's very good on the bench at drawing up ball plays and helping his point guard. So the advantage will go to A&M in a tight ball game late, but they're just not going to wind up and knock somebody out very often.
16 on the shot clock for A&M. 5:02 to go in the quarter. Worked into Williams. Williams 0 for 4 from the field. Hillsman 0 for 5. And a foul called on Georgia. It's going to be the 5th team foul on Georgia, so a couple of free throws coming up for Texas A&M when we come back. Kennedy, Carter filling up the highlight reel in the first half. 6-point game. Stop for you on defense, Carol. I'm just letting you know that, but this is her showing off the handle here against, as you mentioned, a really good defender in Cole.
Yeah, and what you don't really realize, how quick. I mean, that crossover is wicked quick. And
well, you saw it.
I saw
face
it up
to
close
face
and personal. Yeah, it really is really good. And you just saw it against a great defender in Cole. I mean, she's just, she'll put you on skates. She's really good.
I'll give you a lot of credit. It takes a lot of guts to go out there in front of Kennedy Carter. I was standing in the background. I was willing to come out and switch. But I saw Kennedy was wearing boots, and I'm like, well, maybe that levels the playing field for you.
Well, see, if I'd have been in my coaching mode, we would have trapped her.
Yeah, that's right.
And still gotten beat.
Yeah, I guarantee it. Engram, no beating her right now. 4 3-pointers for the senior. And Georgia stretches it back out to an 8-point lead. Georgia had missed their last 9 trips down the floor, but they finally get a field goal.
And that's big. I thought Georgia would have to hit 8 threes to beat this A&M team. They've already gotten 6, and 4 of those from MACKENZIE Ingram.
Georgia continues to do a real good job on Danny Williams. There's Hillsman finally getting her first points after missing her first 5 field goal attempts. Second on the team in scoring at 15.5 points a game.
Well, she can get going too. Hers is more of thunder. She can take a whole game over in the second half. So you got to stay true to her. But Howard's ability to penetrate rotates Georgia's defense, and it gives Hillsman an opportunity for putbacks.
Cole trying to dribble out of trouble. A little fake by Connolly, and the freshman showing tons of confidence in the double figures with 10. She went for a career high 13 last time out against Arkansas, so you know she's on the upswing right now.
Yeah, and that was a floater. That's a big time shot for a guard.
Hillsman draws the double, and a foul called on Connolly. Thought she had all ball.
Well, and that was good strategy by Georgia. You don't want to go one-on-one with Hillsman. Watch Connolly. She just bobs, weaves, brings it right back to the senior. And MACKENZIE Ingram she's feeling good behind the arc today.
40% shooter this season, as we mentioned. She went for a season high 21 against Arkansas last time out, 10 of 21 from the field. So a couple of players, Connolly and Engram, back-to-back solid games as Hillsman connects at the free throw line. Well, you know you're not going to keep Kyla down, the senior out of Chicago. Only missed 2 shots from the field and 20 attempts in the 2 games heading into this one. So to see her at 0 for 5 for a period of time is a bit surprising.
Well, it is, but I don't expect that to stay. Hillsman's too good a worker.
Gets a steal here.
Gary Blair's going to make sure those guards start looking into her.
Kennedy Carter picked up 2 fouls in the first quarter. She's out there guarded by Cole. Williams. Ingram trying to stay on Williams. Now the switch. They feed into Hillsman, knocked away by Robinson.
Just not a good pass, but better defense by Georgia.
Robinson got rid of it, got it back, and knocked down the 3.
The Georgia bigs are showing their stuff from behind the arc.
11 points for Robinson. Georgia now 7 of 15 from outside the 3-point line. Carter, a little too strong. Wells on the offensive glass for 2. First points for the freshman out of Dallas.
Nice job on the weak side.
Wells getting some extended minutes with Lumpkin on the bench with 3 personal fouls. Wells only averaging 11 minutes a game, played 3 minutes against Tennessee in that overtime game. Another 3 made by Georgia, the 8th 3-pointer of the half for the Lady Bulldogs.
That's in one half. I had that circled for the entire game. Georgia has blistered the 3-point arc.
First points for Costa, 9th 3-pointer she's made this year. Bulldogs getting contributions all over the floor. 1 and done off the miss by Williams. Williams now 0 for 5 from the field. Cole dribbled off her foot. Carter got fouled, trying to grab the loose ball. Gabby Connolly picks up the personal. Next Sunday, another women's basketball matchup. 12th ranked Missouri will be hosting Arkansas in Columbia. You'll see it right here on the SEC Network. You can also stream it live on the ESPN app. Big day in the SEC today. How about Tennessee battling back? Had a big lead. Looked like South Carolina was going to come back. Asia Wilson out with an injury, but Tennessee went on a late run. Ended up winning it 86-70.
Well, I don't care who's playing and who's not playing. If you go on the road in the SEC and you get a win, especially at South Carolina, you've done a good day's work.
Connolly picked up her 2nd personal foul. Hillsman.
Nice drive by Wells. What a great drop down pass for Hillsman.
A&M back the other way. Williams. Looking for the foul, some contact from Costa. That's got the fans here at Arena upset.
There was definitely some contact, so it was just a matter of whether the official saw it or whether it was enough to warrant a whistle.
It's been a frustrating first half for Texas A&M. Cole can't get it, and that's going to be a foul on Costa trying to hold on to Howard. Take you back to that last offensive possession for the Aggies.
Yeah, you can see MACKENZIE Ingram's hand. She got her early. Danny Williams continued through, so by the time she got to the shot, there was no foul, but I thought she got hit on the floor.
So Howard will step to the free throw line to shoot a couple. 72% free throw shooter, second team all-conference in the preseason. Another one of those players who just will not leave the court, averaging better than 34 minutes a game. Four points now for Howard, fourth on the team in scoring, and Carter will head to the bench.
Well, Gary Blair's going to get her out with 2 fouls, sit her down, get to the locker room.
11 points, no assists in the first half for Carter. Her minutes limited. Line violation on Texas A&M. So Georgia will bring it up on top by 7 here on the road. Georgia 6-0 on the road this season, playing well again away from Athens. About 2.5 seconds between the shot clock and the game clock, and now Georgia finds an open look for 3. Rebound by Kayla Wells. Down to 3 seconds. Time for McKinney to beat the buzzer. Good if it goes, and it's just short. And that is the end of the first half. Georgia will take a 7-point lead to the locker room at halftime. Their largest lead of the first half was 13 to lead.
We're calling her Swaggy Aggie because she just got that little edge offensively, and she was all the difference in the world in the second quarter.
So there are some of the numbers. 9 of those 11 points for Kennedy Carter coming in the second quarter. She has 2 fouls, 3 fouls for Jasmine Lumpkin. Carter comes right out, a little too strong, and Lumpkin gets it back for A&M. Hillsman is fouled by Q Morrison. 3 players in double figures for Georgia, led by Ingram with 12, Robinson with 11. Robinson with a double-double. That's her 3rd consecutive double-double and 4th this year. And Gabby Connolly had 10 points off the bench for Georgia in the first.
And she's been reinserted into the game already, so quickly going back to Connolly.
Blocked by Robinson. Ball came down to Texas A&M, and it's going to be a traveling violation. Boy, Robinson has been outstanding both ends of the floor.
Well, she's one of the best shot blockers in the SEC and in the country, and she's been back at it in this ball game. She's just long. She's got great anticipation.
A miss for Robinson here. 11 points, 10 rebounds for Kalia Robinson. Also has 3 blocks, an assist, and a steal. Hesitation move, and there's another block for Robinson. Carter got around Cole, but it's good to have Robinson, a shot blocker, as that last line of defense.
Well, you love rim protectors, and you know, some do it with shot blocking, some do it with charge taking, but Robinson's just got that ability.
Howard gets called for the foul, trying to grab the offensive rebound. That's her second personal.
It just feels like the Aggies they're just out of sorts. And Georgia's defense has a lot to do with that. But I've seen the Aggies run offense, and when you're good offensively, you can impose your will on a good defense, and they've really not been able to do that collectively. You've seen Carter be able to do it individually.
Connolly can't knock down the 3 and a rebound for Texas A&M. But Texas A&M, with the foul trouble and the issues, they're playing some zone. And they've played a lot of zone here in the last 2 years under Gary Blair, who was strictly a man-to-man guy through his many years of coaching, his Hall of Fame coaching career.
Well, he has been. He's always leaned a lot on his defensive coordinators, and Bob Starkey is one of the best in the business at running a defense.
And on the offensive end,
well, that's Gary Blair's playground.
And it's not clicking today, especially for the combination of Hillsman and Williams. We told you about this trio averaging 52 points a game. Hillsman scores. She now has 8, and A&M's down 5.
Aggies really, you have to keep an eye on Georgia because they've been so good behind the three-point arc.
Rattling in another 3 is Gabby Connolly. She has matched her career high with 13 points. She set that career high last time out against Arkansas.
You know, Connolly's beginning to warm up in SEC play. We've talked a lot about the talented freshmen on the floor today, really for both teams. Of course, Carter is the highlight of the freshman class in the SEC, but don't sleep on Connolly. Q Morrison from Georgia.
Cole tapped it into the backcourt. Carter picks it up, 3 on the shot clock. Carter creates, can't finish, and it's a shot clock violation. And another stop for Georgia.
Well, the Georgia defense, they're making it very, very difficult on this Aggie offense. And they've really made the Aggies go into one-on-one mode.
Ooh, Connolly showing the dribble, showing Carter what she can do.
Absolutely, that was an incredible step back. But what I love most of all is the confidence, the ability to feel like you can pull that trigger. She's hot, she's had her career high today already.
Back-to-back new career highs for Gabby Connolly, who gets whistled for the foul.
Just good ball movement by Georgia. You love inside-out passing. And then Connolly, she puts Carter on skates that time.
So Lumpkin at the free throw line for Texas A&M. Senior out of Illinois, now with 8. She picked up her 3rd personal foul with 7:29 to go in the 2nd quarter, so she's been out of rhythm. That's really the best way to put it for this entire Texas A&M team. They have just not been in rhythm here today. You want to give Georgia a lot of credit for that with how they've done it defensively.
We do, and then you look at A&M, their team, they don't play beyond 6 or 7 players. So when one starter goes out, it affects the Aggies.
Costa back on for Georgia, and it's Robinson's first points of the 3rd quarter. Back to a double-digit lead for the Lady Bulldogs.
And Georgia just, they seem so focused and so disciplined on the defensive end. They've had very few breakdowns.
Hillsman gets the putback.
That was a defensive breakdown. You got to box Hillsman out. She's a very good position rebounder.
Cole in trouble. Engram grabs it, no reset of the shot clock, but a turnover. Picked up by Carter, center to the floor. Carter to the basket, little ball fake, drops it off. And the finish by Lumpkin.
Terrific job by Carter in the open court, draws the attention, dishes it off. The crowd gets a little energy too. This is a time when Georgia really wants to make sure they have a good offensive possession.
Cole, a turnover. Up ahead to Danny Williams. Williams 0 for 7 from the floor today. Gets her first field goal. Took a hard hit into the basket support. She's up and okay, and Georgia's going to burn a timeout right here.
That's 2 turnovers in a row that have led to Aggie transition baskets.
Georgia was on.
Really torch you because you got guard play coming into play, and now you got Danny Williams, who's had 1 point at halftime. Now she's on the board.
Georgia took the timeout. Let's see how they respond. Hillsman came out to challenge Engram, who steps in and gets the 2. First points of the 2nd half for MACKENZIE Engram.
And that's a great response for Georgia coming out of the timeout. They look very poised.
Lost out of bounds. And it'll be Georgia basketball.
E&M stays in that 2-3 zone, so keep an eye on the shooters.
There's been one of the best shooters for Georgia today. Can't knock it down this time. Connolly with just her third miss and 9 field goal attempts today. And A&M gets the hoop.
And again, nice inside-out passing. Howard turned down a difficult shot to give Carter an easy shot.
13 points now for Carter. First points of the second half, and a foul called on Hillsman for Texas A&M. That'll get us to a timeout with 4:28 to go here in the third quarter. Georgia coming to College Station.
Great Pat Summitt. Just a terrific representation by the SEC.
So the finalists for the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame, assistant coaches eligible for the first time. So some pretty impressive names on that list. Out of the timeout, a miss at the free throw line for MACKENZIE ENGRAM. One of 2 for the senior from Powder Springs, Georgia. She has 15. Gabby Conley with 15. Koyer Robinson with 13 to pace Georgia. Williams defended by Costa, and another turnover for A&M. Engram takes it right to the basket for 2. Strong finish by Engram.
And that's the thing about the Georgia post. They have guard skills, so they're able to go coast to coast. And it's the hardest thing to guard is a rebounder who can put it on the floor and get to the other end quickly.
10 turnovers now for each team. Carter can't get the 3. Hillsman tried to put back. Grabbed by Howard. Williams launches.
And this is where the Aggie just reset. They need to get organized, let the best point guard in the SEC, who is Gary Blair, call the play.
I think Kennedy Carter heard that. It's like, wait, maybe I'm the best point guard in the SEC.
She's the best active point guard in the SEC, but Gary's so good at calling plays that, you know, when things aren't going well, just reset, reorganize. Nice job by the rookie.
Third foul on Blanaroo. Well, you talked to Gary Blair about that this morning a little bit. He has had a steady stream of great point guards here at Texas A&M. He really was talking a lot about the leadership values here at the university in total and how that point guard can reflect those values and how he wants that player to take responsibility for every loss and give it the praise to others when Texas A&M wins.
What I really love most about what he talked about was that if they lose or when they lose a game, he always takes the point guard to the press conference because he wants that point guard to take ownership and responsibility. If they win, he takes the player who had the best stats.
Now, when you say he's the best point guard in the SEC, he's not a guy who's going to turn the keys completely over to a point guard, even if it's someone as good as Kennedy Carter.
It's the connection between the bench, who is Gary on the offensive end, and that point guard. They've got a special relationship. He has expectations, and it's like I always said, he is to point guards what Steve Spurrier was to quarterbacks. You've got to have that ability to be in sync, and you got to be able to take it too. I mean, that's another part of it.
Well, he is giving his current point guard a chance to play with 3 fouls. Carter picked up her 3rd personal. We are in the second half though, so Carter certainly staying on the floor. Engram can't score, and a foul called on Koyer Robinson for Georgia.
Koyer Robinson's got to stay on the floor for Georgia because when she sits down, everything changes for Georgia, not just in production, but also in how other players around her play. She struggled against Texas. She only had 4 points. She got in foul trouble early, so even though it's later in this ball game, she's got to stay on the floor.
2 fouls now on Robinson, 3 on Connolly, 3 on Morrison for Georgia. Howard scores again.
We know Howard's going to rebound the basketball. If you get points out of Howard, that's really good, especially when it comes off the offense.
2-point game. Connolly got free. Couldn't get it. That went over the top, and it will be A&M basketball.
That might have been a little quick for Georgia to shoot that shot, but a missed shot's better than a turnover.
Carter. Great fight again by Howard. Always all over the basketball.
That's what she gives you, the intangible, the toughness, the grit.
Carter dribbling through traffic, and a foul called as she was driving the lane trying to get it down to Hillsman. So foul on Georgia. That will be the 15th foul, and will send Kennedy Carter to the free throw line.
And this is where A&M, they depend on the free throw line for a lot of reasons. The most obvious are points. But it also, because they only play 5-6 players, it gives you a break. It gives you time to regroup. It gives you time to catch your breath without calling timeouts. So
we're going to go to the monitor to see who committed the foul on the drive by Carter. She'll have a chance to tie the game when she eventually steps to the free throw line. So while they discuss things, we remind you we have a men's hoop doubleheader coming up on Wednesday, 7 o'clock Eastern. Auburn and Alabama, 9 Eastern. 24th ranked Tennessee taking on Missouri. See it on the SEC Network. You can also stream it live on the ESPN app. They give the foul to Connolly. Yeah, that's 4 on Connolly. So they went to the monitor, confirmed it was the foul on Connolly. 4 personals now on Gabby Connolly. Freshman's played great.
Yeah, she's not a player Georgia wants to sit down, that's for sure.
You mentioned the free throw shooting. It was so vital in the win against Tennessee as A&M got 21 points at the free throw line in the OT win. They were 21 of 26. Today they're 16 of 18. And it's helped them tie the game at 52.
Well, they're 5th in the nation at free throw attempts, so this is a big part of their offensive arsenal.
Now the point guard you talked about that's not named Kennedy Carter for Texas A&M, Gary Blair, was just telling the crowd to make some noise and get up here.
He's coaching everybody. The crowd, his team, the officials. He's a busy man.
Officials stopping play. I don't know if it was a clock issue. Game clock reads 1:20. Shot clock 15.
Those officials became momentum busters. Gary had the Aggies where he wanted them.
We're going to get an explanation here. They want to make sure they have the foul situation right here because they look up to the scoreboard and it said 14 fouls, and want to see they actually had 5 fouls, so Kennedy Carter will go to the free throw line. That indeed is the case. They've changed the scoreboard. Now the crowd will restart. 9 on the shot clock for Georgia. They look for Robinson. Carter with the rebound.
It was a nice play by Georgia, but Robinson couldn't finish it.
Texas A&M took a 2-0 lead. That was their only lead of the game until now.
How about Ariel Howard? She's going, I'm sick of y'all talking about my rebound, and I got game too on the offensive end.
She's averaging a double-double. She has another double-double. 10 points go along with 12 rebounds. And Georgia losing their poise here a little bit as A&M forces a turnover.
Costas had some head-scratching decisions with the basketball. That's another one of them. It's critical for Georgia right now to find some composure. They've had great poise throughout the game. But this Aggie crowd can unnerve you a little bit because this is one of the best home crowds in the SEC.
Good turnout here today as well for Legacy Day, honoring past members from the Texas A&M program. Sydney Colson has her own bobblehead day here today. Two-time captain, part of that national championship team in 2011. Batted up in the air off the Carter miss. 10 seconds to go. Time here. Engram, another mistake. Engram over the head of Cole.
And you cannot, if you're Georgia, turn the basketball over. You've got to at least get shots on basket.
There's Carter with 5. Kennedy Carter for 3. Rebounded by Hillsman, but there's the horn to end the quarter, and Texas A&M
I would expect a heavy dose of Kennedy Carter, Hillsman. However, Howard has been really a good spark for the Aggies.
Howard 10 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists. 4 of her 12 rebounds on the offensive glass. Her 10th double-double this season, 23rd of her career.
Georgia really needs to have a good possession, another turnover.
For the Lady Bulldogs, that is their 5th turnover since halftime.
And there's never a good time for a turnover, but theirs seem to be coming in critical moments.
Williams. Well, she's had to work just to get touches here today. Hillsman fighting, but guess who?
That is an assignment. You got Hillsman on one block rebounding. You got Howard on the other block rebounding. What a handful.
Morrison back in, threw it into the backcourt. Bit some unforced errors here as well for Georgia. There's another one, and it'll be Texas A&M basketball.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia's just got to calm down and pass the ball to their teammates, but just watch the board work. Hillsman powers in, doesn't get anything. Howard's on the other side. Just relentless pursuit of the basketball by the Aggie bigs.
Carter, tough shot. Of the 31 shots she took against Tennessee, Gary Blair told us, what, about 10 were bad shots?
About 10.
You gotta live with some things here as this freshman.
Oh yeah, you'll live with some bad ones.
Finds her way in the SEC.
Those good ones are, you can live with the bad ones because the good ones are so good.
Four-point game. Georgia needs a hoop here. This is the player who's delivered, and she does it again. MACKENZIE Engram now with 20, one off her season high.
And that was such an important basket for Georgia. The wheels had fallen off offensively, and the senior finds a way to produce.
Meanwhile, Howard continues to produce 14 points, 10 coming in the second half for the junior from Atlanta.
I mean, you just don't think of Howard as being that big go-to offensive player, but she's shooting with confidence.
Getting involved on the defensive end, as always. Back out to Cole. 2 minutes gone by in the quarter. Morrison can't hit. Robinson, offensive rebound. Howard was there to make it tough defensively, and now Carter. And the point guard says, slow down, point guard.
How about that? How about the freshman? She's maybe Coach Gary Blair's rubbing off on her a little bit. She's picking those moments.
Well, he was barking at her a little bit. Now a turnover as she tried to feed Hillsman. And a turnover for Blair's team. 11 turnovers now for A&M. 3-point lead for the Aggies, and another unforced error here for Georgia. Good hustle play coming back by Morrison. Great speed to come back to knock it out of play.
And Georgia, you know, some of these turnovers are just, they're head scratchers. You got to give the Aggies credit for taking advantage, picking up the ball, but good hustle by Georgia.
Robinson got the block, saved though by Howard, out to Williams. Taja Cole. Cole pulls up, rattles into first points in the second half for the sophomore transfer from Louisville.
And that's the way Georgia really likes to play. They're a transition team first, and we hadn't seen much fast break basketball in the second half.
Lumpkin fouled by Caldwell for Georgia, and she'll go to the free throw line and shoot a couple.
Caldwell as her second. First on the team in quarter number 4. Jasmine Lumpkin on the line for the Aggies, shooting 2.
Lumpkin will step to the free throw line 64%, but 3 for 3 today. A&M's been outstanding from the line here against Georgia. A reminder, Georgia and Alabama will take you back through that great championship game. I know it's a little sensitive for Georgia fans. We got a taste of that this morning. Still a little raw, but if you want to go behind the scenes, you can see at 9 o'clock Eastern on an SEC Inside College Football special on the SEC Network and the ESPN app.
Georgia still lost, I guess.
There's some things you just can't change. Morrison fouled on the drive by Howard. That's the third personal on Howard.
We really hadn't talked much about the Aggie defense because it's been so much about Carter and the offense, but the Aggie defense has been pretty stingy here in the second half. A lot of deflections. I think Georgia's only hit 1 3, maybe 2 in the second half.
Tough pass to Handel, and it was last touch by Georgia. Lady Bulldogs losing some poise here. This is a team that's gotten off to a 3-1 start in conference play. 6-0 on the road, but struggling here in the second half, down by 3. But with all the mistakes Georgia's made here over the last 6-7 minutes or so, Joni Taylor can still point to the fact it's still just a 3-point game, and now they've got the basketball after the offensive foul called on A&M. Hillsman gets whistled.
Yeah, the Aggie fans aren't very happy with this call. Hillsman's down inside. She's got a double team on her. They called a wraparound foul. I used to be a post coach, so I'm not going to agree with that. But
Morrison missed. Lumpkin rips away the rebound. Carter in transition, lays it in for 2.
That was easy. That was a walk down easy street for Carter.
Big swing there. Georgia had the basketball down by 3. Carter comes back to stretch it to 5, and now an answer by Robinson. 17 for Koyer Robinson.
And that's a timely response because you feel like if Georgia doesn't get good shots and knock down some, the Aggies could go on a big run.
Carter changed the shot, now get her to the free throw line.
Second on the team. Kennedy Carter on the line for the Aggies, shooting 2.
So Q Morrison picks up her 4th personal foul. And Carter will head to the free throw line. Perfect today, 8 for 8 as a team. A&M 18 for 20 from the free throw line. Only conference loss for the Aggies, the heartbreaker at South Carolina by 2.
The Aggies average 16 points a game off the foul line, and it's a huge part of their offensive production.
Great take to the basket by Gabby Connolly. Took it at Hillsman for 2. She continues to add to her career high 17 points for Connolly on 7 of 11 shooting.
Well, the Texas native, she's enjoying her return to the Lone Star State. She's been stellar.
Carter found a little bit of an opening, and that's all she needs. Three-pointer for the freshman now at 24 points.
Carter, it's almost like she can score at will. It's like she just picks. Do I want to shoot a three? Do I want to break you down?
Morrison, good feed to Blanaroo for her first points.
And that's a nice job. That was really about the first time we've seen Georgia have multiple hands touch the ball on an offensive possession. So good ball movement by Georgia.
Lumpkin. Robinson controls the rebound for Georgia. Now in transition, and Georgia can't get that to go as Caldwell took it to the basket. And that will get us to a timeout with 4:05 to go in the fourth quarter. You cannot leave Kennedy Carter open. She'll do that.
Bigger teams with a player like Hillsman, McGowan at Mississippi State, the big girls from Texas. When it gets into that half-court game, you always go with the rebounders.
Out of the timeout, it's a jumper for the freshman Morrison. Controlled by Carter inside of 4 minutes to play here in the fourth. 3-point lead for A&M, their largest lead 5. They trailed by as much as 13. Howard again. Hillsman, another offensive rebound for Hillsman. That's her 7th offensive rebound of the game. She has a double-double, 10 and 10.
Nice job at Hillsman, just cleaning up, doing the dirty work on the weak side.
Morrison throws it over to Engram. Shot clock at 4. And Hillsman's called for the foul. 23 offensive rebounds for Texas A&M.
It's just impressive. And what happens, Georgia has to rotate to help guard Howard. That frees up Hillsman. And Hillsman is a very intelligent player. She knows to play the percentages, which is go to weak side on the drive.
Haley Clark at the free throw line. First point of the afternoon for the senior from Orlando.
Speaking of smart, she zipped through Georgia in 3 years, working on her master's.
In financial planning. Getting smarter by the second here.
I know, I should have interviewed her. She could help me.
Carter. Howard got Engram in the air. Robinson gets the defensive rebound for Georgia. Connolly left open for 3. She's been dangerous, but not this time. And it's Morrison fighting inside. Morrison still fighting, and the freshman comes through for Georgia.
What great second effort by Q Morrison.
Morrison sticking with it. She had missed her first 6 field goal attempts. That's her first field goal of the game. She's got 2 points. They came at a great time. 1-point game. Carter can't hit, and it's Morrison with the rebound. On the run, it's Clark. Up ahead, they didn't find her in time. Now Clark, tough shot, and she'll go to the free throw line. So a good response here by the Lady Bulldogs.
Well, this Bulldog team, they have a poise and calm about them. Even when things were not going well, they still stayed poised. And that's critical when you're on the run. And then defensively, they've made a stand. They've been able to get some control of the boards over the last couple of possessions. Now you get to go to the foul line.
Haley Clark, 55% free throw shooter. As a team, Georgia at 65%.
Haley Clark's not a stat stuffer by any stretch, but she has great leadership skills. Coach Joni Taylor likes for her to be on the floor when the wheels are coming off, or when you're in winning time. She wants Haley Clark on the floor.
She ties the game at 68. Howard Back for Lumpkin. Can't get the roll, and it's Engram who pulls down the rebound. Inside of 2 minutes to play in the fourth. Robinson back outside, the freshman tries another three and makes it. Gabby Connolly, 20 points.
How about Gabby Connolly coming home to Texas, and she has put on a show. Between Gabby Connolly and Carter, there's not a shortage of guards in the state of Texas.
Carter tries to answer back, and she'll head to the free throw line to shoot a couple. Gabby Connolly, averaging 7 points a game coming in, has 20 here today.
It's just incredible, her ability to just catch and shoot. She's playing very much within herself. She has a very relaxed demeanor.
Fouls on Haley Clark, her third personal foul. A couple of free throws for Carter. Now this highly regarded freshman class for Georgia, 4 players all told they get a chance to play by Joni Taylor. And that's the case. And adding a couple of transfers, it's a new look for Georgia. And they have delivered. Now down by 1. Texas A&M, I beg your pardon, down by 1. 1:10 to go.
Georgia's going to come in here and pull off this upset. They've got to make sure they get a shot at the basket.
Tipped away into the hands of Clark. Shot clock down to 3, down to 2. And Morrison does not get it off in time. It went in, but it came after the shot clock expired. Texas A&M ball.
Well, the beauty of that turnover is that they used every second off the shot clock. Georgia will get the last possession with 51.7 seconds left.
Texas A&M will call a timeout. They will advance it into the front court, and it's a full timeout. There you see the numbers for Connolly. She has 20. Engram has 20. For A&M, Carter leading the way with 26. Howard has 14 points, 14 boards, and 3 assists. So who does Texas A&M look to here, Coach, on this inbound play?
Well, you would think Carter, but they have good options. That's the good news. They can go to Hillsman if they need to. She's not in a great matchup.
Carter with it.
But hey, it was Danny Williams against Tennessee that went to the foul line and knocked down 3 free throws.
Howard, Lumpkin. Howard tries to drive. Howard can't score, and the rebound for Robinson. Shot clock and game clock just about synced up here, so Georgia with a 1-point lead, and Williams will commit the foul.
And they foul the player that Coach Joni Taylor feels best about shooting free throws in the clutch. Gabby Connolly has been very good. She hit big foul shots against Georgia. She hit big foul shots at Kentucky.
5th team foul on A&M. A couple of free throws here for Connolly, who calmly swishes the first. You want to double check the notes, make sure she's a freshman.
I'm telling you.
She has not played that way here today at A&M. 3-point game. Carter launches a 3, backs it in to tie the game. 12.4 to go and a timeout call.
And that's what Swaggy Aggie can do. It is unbelievable. She is stone cold confident.
The officials blew the whistle. Joni Taylor, I don't think, wanted a timeout. The officials are going to go to the monitor. I think they're going to, there's no question it's a 3. The question is how much time is left. And it looked like the clock came down a little bit, so they're going to put a little time on that game clock.
Well,
but if you're Joni Taylor, do you want to just play and not let Texas A&M set things up defensively?
a lot of coaches had rather push the ball down the floor. You don't want to set it and let the Aggies have a chance to reorganize, go to a huddle. So, yeah, this is a lot of people think that coaches want a timeout to draw up a play, but if you know your team, and you like how they play in flow, you're not going to use that timeout. You're going to let them push it down. The game's tied, so at worst, you're going to overtime. Now you're going to have to inbound the ball off a sideline out of bounds.
So now Georgia will take a timeout.
Some touch in the paint, so the officials have to make a decision.
Georgia with 2 timeouts remaining, 1 timeout left for A&M. It's Georgia basketball with 12.8 to go. Crowd is up and making noise here at Reed Arena. Morrison, the freshman, 6 seconds to go. Can Connolly do it again? Front iron, no good. Robinson off the mark, grabbed by Williams, and we will have overtime here in College Station.
Boy, Georgia got 2 really good looks. Great job executing out of the time the Aggie go-to, and then you got Connolly for Georgia, freshman guard, who's been the Bulldog go-to. So the SEC, what a great future. These freshmen are incredible.
Well, the future is now for Connolly and for Carter. Overtime tip won by Georgia. Second game in a row that A&M goes to overtime here on their home floor. They fell behind by 4 to Tennessee. Came back to win that game. And now off the miss, here comes A&M. Carter's floater no good. Robinson pulls it in, and it's into the hands of Connolly. Connolly gets fouled by Howard on the drive, and it'll be a couple of free throws for the freshman Gabby Connolly. For those of you who are tuning in to see Arkansas take on Auburn, we will join that game as soon as we're finished with overtime here in College Station. You can see the start of that game now on the SEC Alternate Network and the ESPN app. Team high 23 now for Gabby Connolly.
Connolly's playing with 4 fouls too, so she'll have to be mindful as she goes on to the defensive end. She's got to stay on the floor.
She's been playing with 4 fouls since the 3rd quarter.
And she's done that very well.
Trying to deny Carter. Carter launches a 3. In and out. Robinson was fouled, grabbing the rebound, and she'll shoot 2. Now, good work by Kalia Robinson, because Texas A&M, they weren't quite piling up the offensive rebounds like the snow that they're predicting for this area coming up on Tuesday, but they were really dominating on that glass. But Robinson has really settled things down for Georgia on the defensive boards.
Georgia's been pretty clutch here on the foul line too.
And by piling up snow around here, we're talking about a trace, but that's the equivalent of a foot.
Oh, you're a northerner. You have more exposure to that.
I'd go wear shorts outside. 76-73 in OT. Hillsman, the double comes, and she'll head to the free throw line.
Hillsman does a nice job. Kalia Robinson felt like her hands were straight up, but Hillsman goes into her, draws the contact, which is what you teach offensive post players to do.
Hillsman at the line, 21 of 24 for A&M. They make another one. Two players with 4 fouls for Georgia. Connolly, who's had 4 fouls, as we mentioned, since the 3rd quarter. Morrison with 4. And 3 with 4 for A&M. Hillsman, Carter, and Howard. Engram drains a 3.
Ingram has just dominated the three-point line.
6 of 7 from outside the arc from MACKENZIE Ingram. Carter can't answer back. Tipped out and grabbed by Morrison. 2-on-1 the other way. Morrison drops it off. The freshman for Georgia. Connolly with the finish.
And that's Georgia basketball. Incredible defense leads to easy offense.
Timeout called by Texas A&M. And Georgia fell to Mississippi State 86-62 on New Year's Eve. Now trying to pick up a win over a ranked opponent in Texas A&M after A&M had knocked off Tennessee. 6-point lead for Georgia in overtime here in College Station.
We'll see what Coach Gary Blair has drawn up for this offensive possession.
Carter tried to get it down to Lumpkin. Grabbed by A&M. Williams, too strong for three, and a foul is called on Howard. And that will be her fifth. Andriel Howard, who provided such a stabilizing influence for this A&M team when they had fallen behind to Georgia. She fouls out. 14 points, 15 boards for the junior.
Well, if I had an all-effort team, she would be my captain. She does all the little things. She could care less about stats. She's about winning. And it'll be interesting to see how the Aggies navigate this overtime without her.
Kayla Wells into the game for the Aggies. It's Gabby Connolly back to the free throw line. Connolly 4 for 4.
If I had an all-clutch team, I believe Gabby Connolly.
Got a lot of teams to keep track of here.
But I have just been so impressed with not so much her production, even though that's mind-blowing, it's her calmness and her ability to play big in tough moments. Speaking
of which, that's a little too strong, and a rebound tracked down by Clark. No need to push it. Connolly, the freshman, calls for it and will settle things down. 2:45 to go in overtime. 8-point lead for the Lady Bulldogs.
Georgia just needs to be very patient and poised. 10 seconds on the clock, you start making your move.
You know Connolly wants to take the shot. Connolly steps back, and that hits the basket, top of the basket support. And a shot clock on top of the backboard, and it'll be Aggies basketball.
And the Aggies, even though they're down, they've got Carter. She is so explosive, and she can score so quickly.
Distributing this time to Wells.
Well, that's what she does. She draws the attention. You got a wide open Wells on the weak side. Great pass by Carter.
Gary Blair likes his team, says they're resilient. Probably too early to count them out, but Gabby Connolly continues to find ways to try to push Georgia over the top. 30 points for Connolly. Carter answers back with the floater.
Well, Carter's good on offense, but they're going to have to get stops on the defensive end. You've got to do something.
Williams gets called for the block. That will send Gabby Connolly back to the free throw line.
And if you're Georgia, we're going to keep the ball in Gabby Connolly's hand, because not only is she hitting foul shots today, she's proven over her very short college career to be very clutch. And today has been no exception.
What a battle between these two freshmen. Kennedy Carter with 31 points. Gabby Connolly with 31 points. Carter hit the three to tie the game with 12.8 seconds to go to send it into overtime. Connolly keeps coming up with plays to keep Georgia in front in OT. Carter blocked by Robinson.
That was a heck of a pass. Wells just avoided the contact. That's where you want to lean in. You want to get that foul call.
Carter can't hit the three. Robinson got inside position, but Lumpkin came away with the basketball. Carter's drive off the mark, picked up by Williams. She steps back for three and makes it. Danny Williams makes a three, her first three-pointer of the game, and a timeout called. by A&M. Not done yet. 5-point game, 1:07 to go.
And this is just great effort by the Aggies to keep it alive. Danny Williams says, hey, I did this a game ago. Give me another shot at it. Terrific job nailing that three.
So Gary Blair huddles his team together. Here's what's at stake. I'm not sure his math was right, but he told us today, how would you like to be in a 6-way tie for second at the start of the day, and if you lose, you drop to 9. That's how tight things are. Mississippi State, the only undefeated team remaining. Tennessee coming up with a victory today over South Carolina. Georgia. And been a lot of talking. The players been looking at each other while the officials have been working with the clock operator. And it's a turnover. Carter then lost the handle. Hillsman gets it back. Carter for 3. Saved, but to Georgia. Oh, what a moment that was. A&M got the basketball.
Wow, it was a heck of a defensive play by Carter, but she came up air on that three-point shot. And then Georgia very smartly, quickly gets the ball to Gabby Conley. Leaves the Aggies no choice.
Gabby Conley with 32 points. Make it 33. 10 of her 33 coming in overtime. What a performance.
Gabby's parents are here from San Antonio, Milton and Tina Conley. Don't you think they're proud sitting up in the Aggie end zone with their Georgia shirts on?
I do believe they're going to have to figure out a way to get to all her daughter's games because they've had a pretty good influence here. Blocked by Robinson and a foul in the backcourt with 40.6 to go in OT. Georgia will be back at the free throw line with a 7-point lead. A lot of the talk in this game about Kennedy Carter getting a chance to see the top scoring freshman in the country. But Gabby Conley wants everybody to know she wasn't the only freshman on the court. (12 for 12 from the free throw line. 35 points, 13 coming in overtime. Carter trying to move on Clark. That's off the mark. Lumpkin with the rebound. Clean block made by Robinson, and she lost it out of bounds. It'll be Aggies basketball with 30 seconds to go.
And there's the parents of Gabby Conley, Milton and Tina.
Williams turns, can't get it. A rebound pulled down by Robinson, and Texas A&M will foul. Williams does get called for the foul, and that will send Gabby Conley back to the free throw line. Well, they're not going to leave to get out of here soon. They're going to stay here to the very end.
Absolutely.
And see their daughter at the free throw line 2 more times here.
This has been an epic homecoming for Gabby Conley from San Antonio to be able to come into Reed Arena.
Well, she's almost perfect.
Well,
Perfect enough for Georgia today. Now 12 of 13 from the line.
Well, she's stolen the show. I mean, we've talked so much about Carter, and with good reason. Carter, one of the best freshmen in the country, but Gabby Conley has been unbelievable today.
Foul called on Georgia will send Wells to the free throw line. Q Morrison fouls out. Morrison was battling foul trouble throughout the game. Finishes with 2 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. Maybe her numbers aren't great, but she's like, you know, our freshman class did a little something here today.
Well, they were top 10 recruiting class as well, so both A&M and Georgia have done very well on the recruiting trails.
Our graphics department is calling this one a victory for Georgia, as Wells makes them both. Let's see if A&M will not foul, and we can officially put this one in the books, and it's a signature win for Georgia. They get a win over a nationally ranked opponent. They come here to College Station and win 92-84 in